One of the things that many of you guys have messaged me or have commented about on my videos is that you find it difficult to concentrate while listening to audiobooks. Now, if you've been a subscriber of my channel for a while now, you know that I absolutely adore audiobooks and I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So if you guys have always wanted to get into audiobooks but you didn't know how, then this is the video for you. Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today I'm going to give you my top tips to get into audiobooks as a beginner. Now, before we get started with the tips, I just want to talk a little bit about why audiobooks. So why do I love audiobooks so much and why do I talk about them so much on my channel? Now, basically, I feel that audiobooks have two main advantages. The first one is that you can listen to them on the go. So basically, even when you're doing like a few household chores, if you're going on a walk somewhere, if you're commuting to work or to college, like, you know, when you're like basically, when there's like downtime in your life where you can't actually physically read a book, you can still read by listening to an audiobook. And I feel that because of this, because you can listen to an audiobook on the go, it really helps you consume many more books and it helps you get through many more books. And the second advantage of listening to audiobooks is that it helps you get through intimidating as well as difficult books. For some reason, a 600-page book can seem intimidating, but that same 600 pages converted to like a 20-hour audiobook just doesn't seem that intimidating. Like the physical size of a book might seem like, oh my god, this book is so big, but 20 hours, especially if you listen to it at like 1.5 or 1.6x speed, just doesn't seem like a huge commitment for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's just psychological, but it really doesn't seem that intimidating. Similarly, reading something that is quite difficult to grasp and understand also seems intimidating. But when you have someone narrate that same thing to you with voice modulations as well as with a lot of emotions and in a very, very like nice way, if you have someone narrate something to you that can be difficult to read, that also just seems less intimidating. So for some reason, getting through difficult and intimidating books just becomes a lot easier when you listen to them on audiobook. So I feel, especially as a beginner, if you want to increase the number of books that you are able to get through, and you also want to try your hand at maybe larger books or more intimidating books, then listening to audiobooks can really help you with that. Now let's get to the tips of actually how you can start listening to audiobooks as a beginner. Tip number 1, pay attention to the narrator. Now, a good narrator is what can make the audiobook great. So one way to help with increasing your concentration, especially when you're listening to an audiobook, is to try to choose an audiobook where you know the narrator will be good. Because a narrator who does good voice modulations, who basically gives like different characters, different voices, and a narrator that really brings the story to life will help you stay engaged and keep you hooked to the audiobook. And a foolproof way to choose an audiobook that has a good narrator is to choose audiobooks that are either narrated by celebrities or that are narrated by the author of the book themselves. Because celebrities come with the natural knack of like acting, because they know how to act in movies, so they know how to modulate their voices, they know how to change their voices, they know how to keep you engaged through the medium of like content, basically. And similarly with authors, because the authors understand their characters so well and the authors know their plot so well, they know exactly what kind of voice intonations to make to be able to convey the story in a very, very gripping and engaging way. So choose audiobooks narrated by actors or celebrities as well as audiobooks narrated by the authors. If you guys want like recommendations of what audiobooks you should start with, I've already made a video about this. I'll link it up here. There are 9 amazing audiobooks in this video that you can start your audiobook journey with. Tip number 2, start with short story audiobooks. Now, it's similar to when you're just beginning reading, which is basically if you have like a shorter amount of content or a shorter amount of thing to consume, then it helps you kind of build your concentration, it helps you build your engagement level to start consuming things which are larger in quantity. So short story audiobooks, which are between 10 to 50 minutes long, is I think a good place to start when you are just starting out your audiobook journey. So when you start with like these short audiobooks, it just helps you get used to the entire process of listening to a book being narrated. And also because they're so short, they're not really that intimidating and very, very easy to get through. Again, especially if you use the time speed up feature of like 1.5x or 1.6x, so it becomes even shorter and easier to consume. So yeah, start with short story audiobooks. 3 recommendations that I have for you is number 1, Little Duck Girl by Anita Nair. This audiobook is kind of like a social commentary on what's happening in the Indian political scene right now, because it is set against the backdrop of the Citizenship Amendment Act that was recently passed in India. Through this backdrop and the different characters that are there in this book, the crux of the story and the thing that the author really explores is who we are as Indians, and she really explores what it means to be an Indian and what Indian identity really is. This audiobook is narrated by Prakash Jha, and he does a beautiful job at bringing this story to life with a lot of nuance and a lot of emotion. Definitely check this out because it is quite an insightful read, and yeah, it is something that is quite relevant to today. Number 2, Lockdown Liaisons by Shobha Day. Now this is actually a series of audiobooks that explores life amidst COVID-19. So basically how COVID-19 has affected our lives and how our lives have been affected by the lockdown. But at the core of each story is basically how this new normal has affected relationships and love in general. So each story kind of explores a different type of relationship and how COVID-19 has not only affected other aspects of their life, but the main thing that it has affected is their love story or their relationships with the different people in their life. And it's a very, very relatable and it's a very interesting and relatable take on the way we are living right now. These audiobooks are narrated by Ira Dubey and Divya Datta, who I think do a spectacular job at bringing all these characters to life with the right amount of emotion and the right amount of drama and everything that they bring to the story. These two, I think, do a fab job with these audiobooks. So listen to this if you want something that is super relatable to the times that we are living in right now, because I feel like you'll have a lot of fun listening to these stories. And number 3, The Scandal in Bohemia by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Now, Sherlock Holmes short stories are just absolutely fun, and listening to them on audiobook I feel makes the entire experience so much better. In this story, the King of Bohemia himself comes to Sherlock and asks Sherlock to help him cover up an affair that he has had with an American opera singer. So now Sherlock has to basically track down this singer and take from her this photograph that she has of herself and the king before she leaks it to the world, and this scandal between the king and the opera singer becomes public news. The very interesting thing about this story is that this is one of the few instances where Sherlock himself finds someone else very clever and he admires someone else. And it's also like one of the few instances where Sherlock gets outsmarted by someone else. So that's why this story is just a really interesting one amidst all the other stories of Sherlock Holmes. And you should definitely check out the audiobook because it is narrated by an Indian narrator. So I don't know, it just makes it a little bit more relatable, especially to Indian audiences. And yeah, it's just a very cool story to listen to. Now, all of these audiobooks are available on the Storytel app. So if you haven't checked it out already, you can check out the Storytel app by clicking the link in the description. Storytel is honestly one of the most convenient audiobook apps that I have used, and I feel that it is perfect for beginners. It has some really cool functions that I think make listening to audiobooks very easy. The first function is the download function that lets you download the audiobook and listen to it offline, when you want to save on data. The second function that is really cool is the search by emotion function. So basically when you finish listening to an audiobook, you can actually leave a review based on the emotion you felt while you listened to it. So you can leave like an emoji review. And then if you want to actually choose a book based on your mood, you can go to the search by emotion function and you can basically choose books based off of these emoji reviews that people have left. So if a lot of people found a particular book thrilling, it will show up in the thrilling section of this search by emotion function. And I feel like it's a really cool way to like discover new books based off of how you're feeling. The third function that is quite cool is the bookmark function, because on Storytel, along with leaving a bookmark, you can also add a note to that bookmark. So it's a really fun way to annotate your audiobooks as well. So if you haven't already, check out the Storytel app. I'll leave a link in the description where you guys can check it out. Start listening to your first audiobook and also share it with me on Instagram stories so that I can be a part of your audiobook listening journey as well. Moving on to tip number 3. Now, for intimidating and difficult books, another really cool tip is to actually read the book along with listening to the audiobook at the same time. Now, this is something that I love to do, not just for difficult books. Sometimes I do it for a lot of the books that I have, but especially for difficult books, I think this is a really great way to get through the book, because reading the book helps you kind of absorb the language and new vocabulary, and it helps you like take in the language a lot better, especially when you see the words. But listening to the book while you are reading the book as well, like physically reading the book, helps you get through the book in an easier way, based on what I said before, where like listening to a narration seems to be a bit easier than like actually physically reading the book. So I feel employing this tactic of reading and listening at the same time is a great way to get through more books, increase your vocabulary by actually seeing the words, and also I feel like it's a way to improve your pronunciation as well, because while you are reading the words, you're also listening to the way it's pronounced by the narrator. So it's just a really cool way to improve your English as well. So I really feel that like listening and reading at the same time has a lot of benefits, and you should definitely try it out if you haven't already. So that's it for my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, give this video a big fat thumbs up. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you already listen to audiobooks, and if you do, which is your favorite one. And also if you have a tip for beginners to start listening to audiobooks, let me know down in the comments. And of course, do subscribe to my channel for more book related videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.